Hey everyone, today I wanted to take you back through memory lane and I want to show you some of the Hobonichi Weeks that I've been using for the past 5 years. Actually, these are a mix of different years because I used the Hobonichi Weeks on and off, and I'll also show you the current one that I am using for 2024 later on in this video. I have been using the Hobonichi Weeks for over 5 years, again on and off, but also it's something that I constantly change in terms of the system. Like, it is a planner per se, but I use it sometimes as a memory keeping log, like a goals log and everything. And as you can see, there are some that are chunkier than others. So we're gonna look at some pages today. I want to show you and tell you all about the stories behind why I bought this specific design, how I got into it, and some of the learnings I picked up so that you could have an idea on how you would like to use your own Hobonichi Weeks. I remember getting my first time trying Hobonichi Weeks. I think I've been seeing it a lot on the internet and also in the community. But it was, you know, I had my own phases and eras of like different ways on how I landed the current style I do with my planning and journaling. So this is gonna be very colorful per se. As you can see, it's very chunky. Let's try going to a random page. Yeah, so I was very into colorful things, and also at this time I was actually gearing up for going to New York for a few months to study. And what I did was it became like a mix of a planner and also a journal and also like a log of everything in between. I don't remember if I had any journal that I was using in conjunction with the Hobonichi Weeks at the time. So what I do is like, I used to have like some logs of what I did and who I'm meeting, and then there are just some quotes that I kind of put in the page. And obviously it's so chaotic, but it had so much character. I think that was the fun part about this. You can see that like consistently my pages have become just this like hodgepodge of things, and for a time I really enjoyed it because it was really a combination of all the things that I would like to remember in that time. But obviously as I got older it became more cluttered. I do regret putting these like chunky stickers. Look how much weight they have. Definitely don't like that. This page, probably one of my favorites. It's very green. I think this was the day we went to the south. We went to the south. The south is basically like Alabang area because I'm from the north. And then I got a plant. I remember I did get a plant there. And also just a lot of personal stuff and family stuff happening at the same time. This was when I went to New York. I remember I didn't bring this anymore when I went to New York, so it was empty for a while until December when I got home. So my brother gave me a really nice enamel pin. Actually, I still use it. It's a sunflower enamel pin, so he gave me that. Let's look at the back pages. I used it. I did. I think I used this for tarot readings and like notes. So quarter life crisis notes, relationships notes. What else? Oh yeah, I did have a reading during my birthday, and I think I didn't use it as much as I wanted. But there are some quotes also and things that I wrote that I wanted to achieve. So yeah, that's the chunky tour of the 2018 one. Where did I buy this? I bought this I probably bought it in Japan. I remember buying this in Japan. Just have to figure out where, but I bought this in Japan. Moving on, we have our 2020 Hobonichi Weeks. This was the first time that Dr. Makino's design was used on the Hobonichi Weeks. So I actually was not planning to buy a Hobonichi Weeks at that time, but it was 2019, and I remember buying this specifically in Louis Ban in Berlin. It's a stationery store there. It was way overpriced, but it was November, and I was like, oh, might as well buy it there since it was there anyway. So I really like this design compared to the current Dr. Makino one. I just feel like even the shade of cream is different. But this was a very interesting year because the pandemic started. I'm bad at using the monthly, so as you can see, there's still nothing in the monthlies as usual. But 2020 was a very weird year. I think at the time I was kind of mourning the fact that I was supposed to move to Berlin and then everything had to be delayed. And then the second part was like just being stuck at home, having the constant rush of traveling, especially from 2015 to 2019, I was very much traveling a lot for work, traveling to teach, traveling to really figure out what I really want to do and where I want to live. So I was very much set on that. I remember because early February was my visa interview, and literally a week later, they shut the world went completely into lockdown. So I think what transpired here was more like, you'll see in the next pages, it was really more of a planner. You'll see they still have like things to do. I think it's something that's very innate in me to have like a list. Like I'm always like a list person. I definitely explored a lot and figured out like, oh, you know, washi tapes are too thick for this kind of size, and obviously some stickers are just too large for this kind of format. So I definitely learned from that. I think this was the quarantine week. Oh, that was a time, you guys. But since that, I started to really use it to my advantage. So weird thinking about these times. But I did Instagram lives, I did content, I did videos. I kept myself busy a lot. It's a mixed bag of a planner where it was like, okay, I have some shipments arriving, I have admin stuff to do, I'm gonna watch this, I'm gonna call that. And then I also have some, you know, remarks about the day, like I went to the mall after 3 months, stuff like that. Eventually you'll see that once I converted it to more of a planner that really works in my favor like this, it's more useful to my regard. And also, well, this was not really a planner. This was like logging, like short, you know, logs of things, consumptions, like what I was watching, what I was listening to, what I was reading. I think ultimately what I couldn't quite get about the weeks at the time was like, what did I want it for? And how much do I want it to be all about my life, my work, my schedule, and whatnot? Because I am very bad at remembering what planner system I use for specific years. But I think in 2020, I also had another planner and another journal. So I don't know, it felt like, was this like a dump? Was this like an extra thing? So because of that, I wasn't able to give myself a lot of freedom to really figure out what I wanted to do for this, because my main complaint was, you'll see it later on, my handwriting was kind of big before, but it's gonna get smaller and smaller over time, which is really an interesting thing that I realized later in life. So let's go to the back pages. I feel like this is always the interesting thing because you'll see what I'm currently working on and how I'm thinking about. But it was also like a hodgepodge of brainstorming ideas. Washi samples. These are all washi tapes that I designed in 2019 to 2020. I was planning the journaling challenge, strategy. What was this? Oh yeah, I had the bullet journal for social media. I don't know how that worked out, but you can see some videos on my channel. I was also planning the studio here. That's why there's a lot of notes and interesting data here. But yeah, swatching inks, obviously. Back pocket. What do I have here? I have a birthday tea. Oh, this is a birthday card from Coco. I love it. It's so tiny. So I also have, I like to put like sentimental things at the back of my planner. Obviously, once I finish using the planner, I just never take it out. So yeah, that was a very interesting 2020 look at my Hobonichi Weeks. Next up, we have the 2022 Hobonichi Weeks. I remember ordering this at the Hobonichi website since it was during the pandemic. You'll notice that compared to the other Hobonichis, this is relatively thinner. So I really made it a point that this was going to be more of a log and also more for writing, less stationary. Key things I did here that were different were that the monthly view was a media log where I wrote all of the media I consumed. So this was very pivotal because this was the year I moved to Berlin. So I moved in February of 2022. So a lot of the writings here were mostly like logs about my observations living in a new city. At first I wanted it to be a mix of, actually the first week was supposed to be a tarot tarot journal, and then I was like, oh, I don't think this is gonna work because I realized I don't draw tarot cards every day. I still do tarot reading at the moment, but only for full moon and new moon. And then eventually it moved to becoming like a habit tracker, and then there was a point where so the left side of the Hobonichi Weeks, you can divide it into 3 columns, and I usually set aside the right side for either cooking logs or something I did like working out, or also like just small things that I did for self-care. And I do notice that a lot of things sort of changed when I moved because I had more observations about the city, discovering new things. I also made a section called Pockets of Good Things, as you can see here. So it was just a small, I try to really hone in on the little things because I realized later in life that they matter more than the big things or the highlight reels. So I wanted to really focus on that as well. And you'll see that my handwriting gradually became smaller and smaller to fit the space, as well as, I don't know, it just kind of grew on me that I had tinier handwriting, and also I used finer nibs so for fountain pens. So you'll also see that for every week there was a specific ink that I use. I feel like initially that was my goal in order to be more creatively challenged, but actually at the end of it I got really tired, so I found it too limiting as well. And there are some months that I actually quit using this sometime in August. I was traveling and then things started to get blurry at the time. I also think I switched to another planner, if I'm not mistaken, another journal. That's why I wasn't really able to catch up on this, and I kind of gave up on the thought because what happened was during that time I was like, oh, I keep using my Hobonichi Weeks and it felt like a chore. It wasn't like something I needed. It was more like, oh, I have to get back to this because I have this planner. And because of that, I decided to quit it. Especially in like November, December, I was very distracted, and I was also going through some personal things. So nothing really. I think I just left this. I brought this home in December and just never revisited it. However, I noticed that at the back part, I did write a lot of observations, a lot of tarot readings, and that was my way of catching up with the tarot interpretations and journaling instead of using it for the entirety of this planner. And then I also tried this format called monthly report, which I unfortunately did not finish. But every month I used to write like something specific about socials, about media, who I met, who I hung out with, what I felt like about things, best buys, what I learned. But nowadays I don't really do that. I feel like some months for me also are a bit just uneventful and I don't feel the need to have to report. Ultimately, what I feel like these planners are supposed to be for, or journals, is like to really realize what is important to you and writing them down, whether it's something that you feel very strongly about or something you want to track, you know. And over the years I keep changing that aspect, and so I realized like I don't need monthly reports anyway. One more thing I wanted to share, I bought the Hobonichi index tabs for this particular year. I don't like it. Can you see how cringe it is? It's my fault, obviously. I'm not the most organized with putting tabs on. I'm going to go ahead and say this is probably my awakening, or like the transformation of what I really intended my weeks to be. And it's still changing, but this is like kind of solidified the whole idea of why I wanted to use this. So on that note, sometime in March when I saw the spring edition come out, so every March, Hobonichi releases the spring collection, and then it's up by April, I think, or March, I don't remember. But in some form of luck, my family was visiting me in Berlin, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna get a Hobonichi Weeks. I ordered it from the Amazon Japan website, and so I got the Dr. Makino edition as well. Here we have a bookmark that actually Christine gave me, Christine for Everyday Explorers Co. It's an Avery tab, and it's movable, and then I just designed it with like my washi tape design, so it's like in theme. But this was very, 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 very handy for the life changes I was going through. To summarize, my 2023 wasn't that great, but obviously I don't talk about it. But it was very chaotic, so I really needed something to hold space and like make sure I was getting on track. So I had used the monthly view for all my meetings. This is probably the first time I'm showing this because it's very confidential. The trips I needed to take, the time that I had COVID, moving apartments, doing storage, traveling. So this was a written account of everything that basically happened throughout the year, and it was just easier to see things here on a monthly view. From this moment on, I used the first. So the 3 columns, the first column is divided, and this is the best system for me. I'll definitely share it in future videos. The left-hand side is really like the appointments for the day. And then the right-hand side is like a hodgepodge of tasks, important things, or something that needs to be done that day. On the right side, it does change. Like there are things I asked to buy, or like errands, or meals, or food. As you can see, I kind of stopped doing the habit tracking. I don't know if I still want to remember that or like use it. But definitely the left-hand side was more functional this way. As you can see also, the ink that I used was very specific. It was Sailor Yurameku Amomoyoi, which I actually changed towards the end of using this planner, which I'll explain later. But I used the same pen, the same ink, and so it was just easy to log things down. So that continued on until maybe, okay, let's see how this changed. I think it changed starting September. So yeah, this was just really a go-to place for having a definite planner. I do realize that the tasks I do are too micro, too small, that I needed a work planner, which is why this 2024 I got a Muji Weekly Vertical, because there's just so much I can write in this space, you know? And if I don't write them, I don't know if I need to get it done. So by the end of September, I was on a mission to kind of use something else. So I started using I think I tested a lot of pens, and I started using this one. This is actually, I use a 0.3mm tip, and it's the Pentel Energel, but it's in a uni ball 1 body. But it's what I used here, and I also started to use more colors, so I got a Zebra Sarasa Nano, which is also in the 0.3, and then that's where I wrote my appointments. So red was work deadlines, green was like social, errands, and then black was just the running list of to-dos. And I think from that, I learned how to really prioritize and segment things. So it turned out to be working in my favor. And I just had to like really get a hold of it because sometimes I forget about like which one is red, which one is green. And then I also have a bunch of plans that I try to write in. So what this planner became was more like a playing field into like, okay, what if I do this for today or that for today? Obviously I make mistakes, so I still have this MD paper cream correction tape, which I really like because obviously it's cream and it's not the closest color to the Hobonichi Weeks, but it's not so obvious. Yeah, generally I really like this format and this is what I'm currently sticking with. Let's go at the back because I want to show you obviously what is a Hobonichi Weeks without ink samples. So just a couple of ink samples that I have tried and like swatched at the back of this this journal. And then I'm gonna find so there are things like these where I did this during the flight back on my first week of January, where it was more like summary of my months, things that happened, 𝚝𝚑𝚍𝚘𝚔. Oh, this was the room plan of our current apartment because I wanted to show friends what the setup was. I'm also living with 3 other ladies, so this was my room and what we wanted it to look like because I needed to get the measurements in time for the furniture, and it was my first time furnishing a room. Also wanted to do a quick shout out to 𝚗𝚘𝚘𝚉. So this is her icon sticker set and she gave me a lot of icons, so I actually still use them because they're really useful for logging and they're small enough to be put onto the pocket of the Hobonichi, which now I'm gonna move to the 2024 one. Last but not the least, here is my 2024 Hobonichi Weeks. This is the Moomin edition. I got this through Kay. Thanks, Kay. We got it. I think we ordered it in July last year. It was pretty early. But yeah, when I saw the colors, I was like, I want one. Usually I don't really care about limited edition things, but I've been in the Moomin phase recently. So I'm like, okay. And can we just talk about how much the pen matches the planner? I love that. So I will put this inside. As you can see, I have a sticker here for cars because I drive in Manila, so I need to put the car, so I need to know when I'm going to drive. But let's talk about the setup really quick because there's not really much I've changed, but this does come with a pencil board, so I really love the pencil board. It's also transparent, so I'm definitely gonna use that every year now. This is what it looks like. At the moment, I have no rules, but I wanted to still have a colored pen situation. So it's currently orange right now. This is Pilot Irishizuku Yuyake. It's one of my favorite orange inks. So I'm still experimenting, but as you can see, I still marked the left-hand side with the divisions. So that's still something I'm going to be doing. And at the back, there's nothing yet that I've logged. But it's just a simple setup and I opted to use the clear cover because my hot take is like I don't really like the texture of this Moomin design. It's very smooth. I like it when it has a bit of resistance, like these ones. These bits are really nice. Like you can hear the texture, you know. And for this one, it's just smooth, like it's glossy and it's like, I don't know, this is ASMR, I don't know, I'm very picky with these things, so I just decided to put on the clear cover. Also, the clear cover does have a double purpose of it having a pen slot here, and for me it's like, okay, then I have no excuse if I have no pens, because back then I used the Yuriliku pen case, and now I'm using it specifically as a pen case and not necessarily for just the Hobonichi Weeks, if that makes sense. So yeah, let me pull up my other weeks, and I hope you enjoyed looking through my Hobonichi Weeks. I have not done a tour of these, and a lot of you requested for it, so if you have questions, let me know in the comments, and let me know which Hobonichi Weeks you're using this year. I would love to know. See you online. Always be creating and take care, guys. Bye!